What up, gang? What is going on? Welcome to the latest episode of the Future Cast. I have an absolute banger ready to go. A guest on today's show. But before we get into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the Player Profiler YouTube channel. Smash that like button and leave in the comments who are your favorite sleeper rookie running backs, receivers, tight ends, or quarterbacks. Any rookies who are your sleepers, leave it in the comments. Because today, that's exactly what we're talking about. I brought on a very special guest to talk about his rookie sleepers heading into the 2025 season. So, without further ado, let's get into it. My guest today, gang, is the founder and creator of the Future Cast, the pioneer of prospects. You can find him over at Roster Watch, amongst other places. It's my brother from another mother, Cody Carpentier. Cody, what's going on, my friend?
Well, doing good, but intro not deserved, number one. Number two, I'm not in my normal studio, so if my audio isn't great, apologies to everybody listening. Video's not the best. Apologies to everyone. I'm stuck in Austin, which is never a bad thing. Means you get more barbecue, you get more Veracruz breakfast tacos, you get more good coffee, you get more sweating.
Hang out with Joe Rogan.
I'm here with my brother. I appreciate you for having me on the Future Cast with these new colors. I like the new colors, the color scheme that's been altered and improved and brought to, should we say, Happy Gilmore 2 heights? Is that the vibe I get with the color?
See, I don't know what you're trying to do there, because Happy Gilmore 2 has been very polarizing. You loved it or hated it. I, for one, didn't mind it. I'm a Happy Gilmore fan, but I'm also not some highfalutin like, oh, what did you do to Happy? Like, I thought it was hilarious at certain points. I thought that was very funny. But anyway, well, you watched it. Have you seen it? Have you seen Happy Gilmore?
It was supposed to be a compliment in a way.
Okay.
Well, also
That's
saying
sure.
The color scheme that I brought. My only problem with Happy Gilmore 2, we don't have to go off on this whole thing, but it wouldn't be us without doing something with it.
Yeah.
The only problem I had with the Happy Gilmore 2 was how over the top the Maxi League was.
Yeah.
And I get what the goal was there, but at the end when they did the tournament thing and it was just so many colors and games and XYZ and explosions and crap, I was like, this is so unrealistic. And I guess when I saw the purple here and the pink, I was like, it went Maxi. I was like, oh, that dude with the eye patch. I was like,
But yeah, you could say that. You were the PGA. The Future Cast was under the PGA banner when you were running the ship. Very, very stern colors. But you bring me on. This is now the Maxi League. This is the Maxi League. This is the Maxi version of the Future Cast. Absolutely. We got the high. We're very pizzazz here. We got the punch. The panaz, as they say.
We're clipping. What the hell was the bone? I can't remember what it is now. The ligament that they clip.
Yeah.
Over here clipping ligaments.
This is the clipped ligament version of the Future Cast. But one thing that has remained the same ever since you were the host of the show, we are diving into NFL prospects, whether it be in college, whether it be in the pros. And today we're jumping into the 2025 class. Very excited for a lot of players. But you already know about the Travis Hunters. You already know about the Ashton Ginties. Hell, you already know about the Ted McMillans. I brought my man Cody on to get into the trenches, to get dirty, to talk about the rookie sleepers. So Cody has a list of 5 sleepers in the rookie class that he's going to bring up. And, I'm going to let you take over, Cody. Let's get to the first rookie that you want to talk about.
Well, first off, people need to know that sleeper in this conversation isn't going to be, your Ja'Cory. Well, it could be Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, but from this the Shrine Bowl, right? These guys that are running back 40 on most analysts' rankings list. The way I kind of attacked this was guys that are kind of outside the top 100 in seasonal drafts. So you'll know some of these names. Some of them haven't been talked about enough, but they need to be. But the first one I guess I'll start out with here is Dante Thornton. Dante Thornton, the wide receiver from the Las Vegas Raiders. Reports we've got through training camp right now are that of obviously Jacoby Myers is the number one receiver. Number one target getter is probably going to be our guy, Brock Bowers. But number one receiver is going to be Jacoby. Trey Tucker's working in there as the 2. But the moving thing that we've heard is that it's actually Dante Thornton, the rookie from Tennessee, the 6'4", 205-pound, 4.3 running wide receiver from Tennessee that's actually outworking or out dueling or getting more reps than Jack Besh from TCU. I think it's an interesting dynamic in this Las Vegas offense because you look at it from the perspective of, all right, well, Pete Carroll in Seattle and how they ran that offense. Yes, they ran the ball, back in the heyday behind Marshawn Lynch. Like they wanted to have a bruising back. They go out and they get Ken Walker, and they've had a quarterback that can run the offense. Russ and Dak and Gino and Dak. Did I say Dak? Russ and
You said Dak.
Gino and DK. And I don't want to call Dante Thornton the DK here, but he's the one guy that can run the 4-3, stretch the field, and be that outside presence. They don't really have that outside of him. Trey Tucker's 5'8", 190 pounds of go-go gadget consistency that can work across the middle of the field. Jacoby Myers is Jacoby Myers. Everybody knows that he's just a consummate pro, kind of in your Lockett, your Cooper Kupp vibe of just a guy that gets the job done. I'm very interested, especially in half and standard type leagues in seasonal this year, to see what that means for a Dante Thornton in the Las Vegas offense. A lot of people are saying, well, it's a bad team, so stay away from everything outside of Genty and Bowers. But when you say Genty and Bowers, and you say, well, Bowers is the first tight end drafted, and Genty's the third or fourth running back drafted
Third right now, yeah.
in seasonal leagues right now, it's like you could also tell yourself a story that Genty could finish the season as running back 1. So if Genty finishes as running back 1, Bowers finishes as tight end 1, this offense is probably going to score some points, right? And if they run the ball a ton, run the ball 300 times, and Genty scores 14 touchdowns, and Bowers has 1,000 yards, like they're going to move the football, they're going to get the ball down the field, they're going to score touchdowns, they're going to win games with Pete Carroll. I think this defense is a little bit better than people are giving it credit for. And yes, Jacoby Myers is going to get his targets, but there's that extra dynamic, and that's where I'm looking is that far quadrant down the field that isn't being utilized. You got Genty in the backfield running the ball. You got Bowers pretty much moving all over. Jacoby Myers pretty much moving all over. Trey Tucker kind of fits in that same mold. He can stretch a little bit, but he doesn't quite have that next level speed. I think Thornton's the guy that can bring those safeties deep and opens it up for the guys underneath, while also they're going to go Dante Thornton. This is kind of the Brian Thomas corollary last year in Jacksonville, was like, well, we're not really worried about over the top. We got Evan Ingram underneath. We got Christian Kirk. We got this running game with Travis Etienne take Bigsby. And all of a sudden, Brian Thomas is over the top here for double-digit touchdowns. Like, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with Thornton here, but I'm not saying it's not going to happen.
Let's look at Thornton in terms of investment. Let's talk about the investment from the NFL, from the Raiders. 6th pick in the 4th round. Pretty significant investment. I understand that's, not one of the first, 10 or 12 receivers taken, but still, after taking Jack Besh, they went back to the wide receiver well, took Dante Thornton. Now let's look at investment for fantasy. In most FFPC leagues, so that's a nice little indicator. That's kind of what we go off of. We play off of that. The ADP typically reflects and has correlation with FFPC data. Wide receiver 71 off the board. So not a lot of investment from you, the fantasy owner. And then you look at his best comparable player, DJ Shark, over at PlayerProfiler.com. DJ Shark was good in 1 year, serviceable in another. That was 2019-2020. Where he was good, he saw 117 targets. And in 2020, where he was serviceable, he saw 93 targets. Cody, do you see a scenario in which Thornton could get 90 to 100 targets in this offense?
I don't know if I'm quite like that far. I don't know if I'm quite that far in on the Thornton idea of him getting completely peppered. But also, like last year, you look at Tennessee, he had 26 catches, Matty. If I told you some dude had 26 catches, you're like, he probably has like 300 yards, 290 yards. He had 661 yards.
Right.
He led the country 25.4 yards per catch, 6 touchdowns. Like that's the mold here. That's the build here. It's a very hyper volatile thing, and I totally get that. And people are going to say, well, then that's more something I'd rather just play with in DFS, or in Dynasty, I'd rather just, stash him away, and then potentially if it hits, his role grows, the targets do come. I don't know. That's the one avenue I would say is like this team's going to run the ball 52% of the time, 51.5% of the time. They're going to be, towards the top of the league in running. Then they're going to be throwing to Bowers. Then it's going to be, all right, well, Jacoby's going to get his, but we also got to stretch the field. So I don't know if I'm straight, if I'm quite on the 90 to 100. I'm probably closer to the 50 to 70 type of area.
And I'm glad you brought that up, my friend, because we talked about investment. Wide receiver 71 off the board right now. In 2022 and 2023, DJ Shark saw 52 and 66 targets respectively. He was 8.9 and 7.7 fantasy points per game, which is wide receiver 53 and wide receiver 62. So in a redraft sense, we're not there yet. We're not necessarily taking him in redraft where we need him this year. Win now rosters in Dynasty. Yeah. We're not really excited right now. But for your portfolio, so to speak, to have investment that typically returns, you get some ROI on it. I think at least there. So for Dynasty perspective, I like the call of getting Deontay Thornton late, get him for free in a trade if he's not really being respected. Because as wide receiver 71, he could outperform that metric this year, even with the 50, 60, 70 targets like you're mentioning because of the big playability. So good call there. Let's move on to the next rookie sleeper. Floor is yours, my friend.
This one's easy. I'm going to go to Carolina. Carolina Panthers are interesting. I didn't tell you this one before the show. I wanted to go here because I think Jimmy Horn Jr., the wide receiver from Colorado, Jimmy Horn Jr. has gotten the drumbeat.
Pretty good drumbeat.
From a number of our favorite beat reporters coming out of Carolina. I'm hopefully going to get up to Carolina in the next week or two, probably two, because they don't allow fans. And so the only thing you're going to get out of the Carolina Panthers this year is from beat reporters because they're like doing construction for the next 2 years on their stuff. And the beat reporters are talking about Jimmy Horn. The beat reporters are saying, Jimmy Horn's had a good day. Jimmy Horn's beating the guy over the top. Jimmy Horn's doing this. Jimmy Horn's got a connection with Bryce Young. Jimmy Horn. And it's like, all right, well, after like the 10th time, you start to say, all right, well, Jimmy Horn's picking up this offense pretty well.
Right.
And when he came out of Colorado, he was obviously overshadowed quite a bit by Mr. Travis Hunter, Mr. Shedeur Sanders. And, even in his own receiving room, it was like, all right, well, LeJontay Wester's the one that had 1,000 yards the year before at I think it was FIU. And I think Jimmy came from USF, South Florida. And Jimmy's a dog. And if you ever listen to Dion talk about Coach Dion, Coach Prime, talk about Jimmy, Jimmy's a dog. And Jimmy showed up in Carolina, knew his situation, knew they spent the first-round pick on Tedero McMillan, knew they spent the first-round pick on Xavier Legette the year before, knew Adam Thielen was the old man in the room. He knew it was going to be an uphill battle. Jalen Coker's there, right? They knew. Hunter Renfrow, he's getting clips right now, right? Hunter Renfrow, the route god, the white route god. Jimmy Horn is getting the buzz. Jimmy Horn is going to make this roster. And I'll be honest with you, as much as I enjoy the clips that we share, Maddie, on Instagram and Twitter and stuff of Xavier Legette talking about eating bowls of raccoon meat, riding four-wheelers, and mud bogging. Like, I love him, but I don't think he's quite there yet. And we heard a report today that came out, or this weekend that came out, about Tedero McMillan self-explaining that it's taken him a little bit longer to pick with the book than he thought it was going to be. If Jimmy Horn's the guy that's picking everything up the fastest, and Jimmy Horn's the guy that's excelling every single day in practice, I tend to just believe that Jimmy Horn Jr. is going to have a role in this offense eventually. And is it on day one? Is it going to be for your 2025 fantasy football team? Maybe not. Maybe not until week 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Maybe not until late in the season. If this Panther team does what some smart people think the Panther team can do and take a big step forward, Chad Ochocinco thinks this is the best receiving core in the league for some reason. Why?
Whoa.
A lot of good route runners, for damn sure. He's got a clip out there saying it. I'm not making this up. He said it. That caught my attention, right? I think Carolina's been building semi-right. They had a defense a couple years ago that I thought was prepared to win and win now, and the offense has kind of come along a little bit more clunky. But they've got one of the highest paid offensive lines. They got a top 10 offensive line in the league, and this team's going to be good. I think Jimmy Horn Jr. is a guy that's going to have a role here sooner than later. And like I said, you're not going to be drafting Jimmy Horn Jr. today or tomorrow or next month or next week, but it's going to be a guy you might be adding off the waiver wire in week 10, 11, 12.
Jimmy Horn Jr., best comparable player at playerprofiler.com. Travis Benjamin. If you haven't heard of him, probably makes a lot of sense. But for all the old heads out there, the true sickos in fantasy, 2015, Travis Benjamin scored 12 points a game, was wide receiver 37 on a points per game basis. So there is a little precedence for this type of profile to have a season in which he is fantasy relevant. Love the call, Cody. Let's keep the train moving. Who is the third rookie sleeper that you want to talk about?
All right, let's do a quicker one here. Let's just go to Tennessee, to the quarterback. I'm going to go see him in a joint practice with the Falcons in about 2 weeks, and this is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to see what I saw from Jaden Daniels a year ago when I went to Washington and saw the Commanders in training camp. And it takes you 5 minutes, man. I was at the Longhorns practices last week, and I come out and I jump on the show, and they're, how's Arch Manning look? What do you think of your first time seeing Arch Manning in person? And I go, listen, there's a lot of analysts out there when they go watch a quarterback. And Maddie, you're going to say, well, what about Malik Willis and Will Levis? It really, arm talent is different. When you see arm talent, you see it at a certain level and progression. It doesn't take very many reps to actually see what a guy is. Now, transforming from college to pro, like transforming across leagues, a little bit different. But once you see them in that setting, like I see Arch Manning in this setting, I saw Jaden Daniels in the NFL setting. Once you see him in the setting, it's much easier to predict what is going to come. Like I saw Jaden Daniels after 2 weeks of practice with the Commanders last year, and I was like, done. He's good. You can go back and find the clips. Done. This is easy. I saw Arch Manning like this last week, and everyone's like, what did you think? And I was like, I saw 4 passes. I don't need to see more than that. I'm good. Yeah. Like I want to go down here, and I want to see Cam Ward against the Falcons in a joint practice during his 3rd week of training camp, and I want to see 4 passes. I want to say, he got it. He's got it. That's all I want to say. And I think where that sits us in 2025 fantasy football is he's free in 1 quarterback drafts, first off. He's your quarterback 3 in superflex seasonal leagues. And in Dynasty, of course, everyone, spent that, top 3, top 4 pick in superflex, which sounds stupid because you should have used probably 1 or 2, right? Given the Genty situation, it should have either been Genty Ward, Genty, whatever. There's still time. There's still time to go out there and get a Cam Ward in Dynasty if you're willing to go with that next quarterback in line. If you believe what I believe, which is I think he might not quite be Jaden Daniels, but I think he's going to be close as long as this talent can come along with him in Tennessee. As far as the weaponry, I know it's Calvin Ridley and Lockett's not quite Lockett what he once was. Chimdike, Alec Manor, a couple of interesting rookie prospects, and we've heard some James Prochet bump the last couple of days, which is gnarly. And hopefully Xavier Restrepo can make this roster and can assist him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have some home cooking in there as a rookie of someone you've kind of grinded with in the past at the University of Miami. I like the call 100%. More of a sleeper in redraft than Dynasty because we've already been hip to the number 1 overall pick in terms of most Dynasty, whether it be Superflex or 1 QB. But in single quarterback, he's, like you said, free. And I think he might be my late round target, one of my sneaky favorite stacks in best ball or in seasonal lineup formats with the Ridley Ward stack. And in your PPC leagues, your points per clip, he might be leading the league right now. I mean, he's got bars at the podium and he is making throws on the field. Cam Ward has a lot of hype. And I do want to echo that one last sentiment you said. Still a little bit cheap in Dynasty. So at playerprofile.com, we have a quarterback 16 in Dynasty. So still some room to buy Cam Ward. Love the sleeper. We have 2 rookie sleepers left to go. But before we get into that, you're going to want to stick around. So make sure you don't go anywhere. But let's hear from this video's sponsor.
If you play in Dynasty, you need Dynasty Deluxe, our premium package for Dynasty Leaguers. We rank over 300 players, updated every week, all year long. And there's a win now mode and a rebuild mode with Superflex and tight end premium controls. and a Dynasty League sync, where you can say, sync down all of my sleeper teams, all my FFPC teams, and then you can browse around your leagues for who has needs, and then you can use our trade finder to see what kinds of trades are happening in leagues that are similar to the one I want to do. Then you can analyze trades using our trade analyzer, which balances the lifetime value, which includes pick values out to like 2028. All of that plus the rookie guide $25 value is included. So if you're just in one Dynasty League, Dynasty Deluxe is well worth it. And use your host's promo code, and you can bump up to All In and get $25 off.
Cody Carpentier in the building here on the Futurecast, going through his 5 rookie sleepers for 2025. 3 down, 2 to go. Let's go, Cody. Who's the next guy on the list?
I don't know if this guy really should count as a sleeper, but he's a sleeper because he wasn't the first running back drafted on his own team this year. 2024 SEC Offensive Player of the Year, Mr. Dylan Sampson. Tennessee rushed for 2,000 yards back-to-back seasons the last 2 years. First time in program history they've done that. He came out as a junior with 22 touchdowns, touched the ball almost 300 times. And it's a guy that a lot of people were big fans of. I know you and I talked a lot about him in the pre-draft process. Now you plug him into this Cleveland backfield where Jerome Ford hasn't been 100% through camp. Quinshon Judkins has just like looming clouds over the top of his head in the off-field situation. Quinshon, no one's going to question the talent, but it's if he can be on the field. And if he can't, it means Dylan Sampson's probably going to get vaulted up into a role as long as they don't, acquire a Kareem Hunt or a Leonard Fournette or some Fugazi-tron like that. So I like Dylan Sampson in Cleveland right now, just being a dark horse starting running back. And you think about what could potentially come down. I know the Quinshon stuff, you're going to say, wow, you might not say this, but people out there in the comments will say, Quinshon's going to play. Quinshon's going to play. You can't say that. We don't know what's going to happen. Listen, we also don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like Micah Parsons might not, he might be traded tomorrow. Like things happen quickly. Things also happen in 9 months or in Rashee Rice's case, 2 years. So we really don't know if there's video or something like this with Quinshon. Boom, it's like that. Dylan Sampson all of a sudden goes from looked at as an RB2B to being the RB1 for the Cleveland Browns in an offense that we also think, like the Las Vegas Raiders, are going to run the hell out of the football 52% of the time this year. And that's only going to benefit Dylan Sampson's value. Where you're getting him right now in drafts, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It kind of does, I guess, but in the thought process of projection, he's going around the Bashal Tutons, the Isaac Guerendos, the Austin Ecklers, the Jalen Wrights, the Ray Davises. Like of all those names, the guy with the most upside to me is Dylan Sampson.
Dylan Sampson. The question I have to ask you, Cody, and it's a personal question. It's kind of what charred my excitement for Dylan Sampson. I was hurt by the helmet, the Tennessee Volunteer helmet. I was all in on Jalen Wright. I thought Jalen Wright was going to be awesome. He wasn't. So for people who are like me that are listening, that maybe haven't been super excited for Sampson because they're traumatized by the T on the helmet, what are the differences between a Jalen Wright and Dylan Sampson, and why should we be more excited for Dylan Sampson?
Well, I think the best way to analyze this is to say a year ago when Jalen Wright came out, Jalen Wright was about 205 pounds and freaky fast like Jimmy John's. And he had 2 lightning bolts attached to each one of his hamstrings. And he was a guy that could just take the ball, one cut, and go 90. And I don't look at Sampson the same way. He's a 4.4 guy, but to me, he's a more overall developed running back. Like if you were to compare these guys to others in the league from a prototypical expectation / play style perspective, I would say you put Jalen Wright more in like a Latavius Murray bucket, whereas I'd put Dylan Sampson closer to an Austin Eckler bucket, where like in Austin Eckler's prime, he was running the ball and catching the football.
Okay. And I like to hear that breakdown as well, because I think that also says if you are part of the crowd that doesn't believe that anything happens to Quinshon Judkins, Jalen Sampson could still have a role in this team.
Yeah.
That's good. A good breakdown. I'm glad he did. You're going to help me not make the mistakes that I was making in my rookie drafts and my redraft leagues as those come up. All right. We've done 4 rookie sleepers. We got one more. Who is it? Tell us.
This is a tough one because there's a couple names I could throw in here. I think I could roll out a Kyle Manung guy. I don't think I get much backlash. I think I could roll out the Ollie Gordon thing. I don't think I get much backlash. I think I could probably roll out the Kyle Williams thing, right? The wide receiver up there in New England. He's probably a great answer for this test. Kyle Williams, wide receiver, New England Patriots, right? Probably a great test. But we've heard from a couple of reporters, he's still kind of working behind Kayshon Boutte, which if you asked Twitter would tell you that Kyle Williams is working 3 chapters ahead of Kayshon Boutte. But that's not the case. I still like Kyle. But my answer here for number 5 has to be a diabolically deep one that nobody's thinking about.
Ooh, love it.
Etienne, not Travis, Trevor Etienne. Trevor Etienne in Carolina. I brought up the Carolina Panthers already with Jimmy
2
Horn.
Panthers. Wow.
Trevor Etienne, a guy that, in his best games, they came against Texas. His best games at Georgia, his 2 best games this last year, Trevor Etienne came against – he was not healthy most of the season. We talked to him at the Combine, and it went a little bit like this. Hey, man, why did your best games come against Texas, and what happened the rest of the season? And he goes, well, if I would have played like I played against Texas against everybody else, I would have been an All-American, right? He played in the October game. He had 19 carries, 87 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then the conference championship, he had 16 carries, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. It was 2 of his only 3 games that he had north of 16 carries against a Power 5 opponent. And all of it, like 5 of his 9 touchdowns came in those 2 games. He was a bruising back. And he's not the biggest back in the world. He's like, I don't know. I think he's like 208, I think was his weight, I want to say. Let me pull it up.
He had the Combine, he was 198. He came in with a 33rd percentile BMI.
Was it 198? I don't really care. Doesn't matter.
He could be 208 by now.
They signed Rico Dowdle in Carolina, and my instant when they signed Rico Dowdle and then drafted Etienne I was like, I think Etienne can beat out Rico Dowdle in camp, period. And Jonathan Brooks is going to play this year. In my head, I believe by midway through the first month of the season, second month of the season, somewhere around before Halloween, Trevor Etienne is going to be full blown, like ahead of Rico Dowdle. As long as health is in shape, as long as his head is screwed on tight. Again, I think he's going to be completely ahead of Rico Dowdle, sidekicking Chuba Hubbard, and we know how important Chuba Hubbard is to that backfield. They just signed him to a 4-year deal, and they're going to give him 20 to 23 touches a game in Carolina because he's kind of the focal point there right now and where they're building this thing with a great offensive line. I think Trevor Etienne is your handcuff in Carolina long-term this season, not Rico Dowdle.
Interesting. So let's kind of – I didn't. We talked about it pre-show, and I did not see this coming. But I do want to kind of unpack that a little bit because that's not a take you're hearing a lot out of, and I think it's very important. It's why you tune in to Cody's content. This is why you tune into the FutureCast. Let's dig a little deeper. Rico Dowdle's contract. Do you remember what it was, Cody, off the top of your head?
Rico Dowdle's contract was either – I think it was it 1 year, 2.75?
Nailed it.
Is that what it was?
That's right on the money. 1 at 2.75. That is not a number that holds back a player playing better.
Yeah.
Right? 2.75 for 1 year is not going to cause anyone to go, we invested in this guy. Let's give him a long leash. So if the leash isn't super long and Trevor Etienne can catch up, I could see a world where that happens, but let me ask you a follow-up question. So in Dynasty, you'd obviously be selling Rico Dowdle for anything. Anyone would. There's really not much value in Dynasty, but in redraft circles, he's being picked in the 16th round. So late, but not nothing. Is that just are you lighting picks on fire with Rico Dowdle in the 16th round?
You're not taking him. Like for me on the cheat sheet, he's completely buried to a certain point that you just won't get him. And that's just what it is. Now, he's still ahead of a couple of names that I would prefer over him, but they're so far out of touch in drafts that you're not going to be you don't get that far down. I would take, a fellow rookie, Taj Brooks in Cincinnati over him. I think you would even debate taking a Miles Sanders, who they've kind of switched roles. Miles Sanders is in Dallas now behind that offensive line, playing with a bevy of characters. and now Rico's in Carolina, I think you would take the Miles Sanders side of that situation going into the season. I'd take the Kendre Miller injured situation. I take the Ollie Gordon stuff we've talked about. Like, I just, there is kind of like Tank Bigsby is a sunk cost starter. I think Rico Dowdle's a sunk cost backup. It's a zero in fantasy football terms.
Love it. Love the take here. So Cody's 5 sleepers heading into 2025 season at the rookie category is Deontay Thornton, wide receiver from the Vegas Raiders, Jimmy Horn Jr., wide receiver from the Carolina Panthers, Cam Ward, quarterback from the Tennessee Titans, Dylan Sampson, running back from the Cleveland Browns, and not Travis, but Trevor Etienne from the Carolina Panthers. Now, I mentioned pre-show, we talked about who some of these sleepers were. You didn't talk about someone that we talked about before the show. So do you want to give the fine folks, the listeners, the loyal listeners of the FutureCast a bonus? You want to bring the player that we talked about that didn't come up in this list?
Bonus player bonus has to be, it's kind of a tag team thought here, is I brought up Miles Sanders here right there. Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams as this perceived backfield in Dallas right now. We think Miles Sanders is rather dust. He's posted on social media. He doesn't think he's dust. Surprise, surprise. Javonte Williams, still not old, coming from Denver behind a better, good offensive line now in Dallas. I think Javonte will be fine. But if you're looking for juice, like if you want juice in the term of what it is, which is turn on the tape, I don't even know where I'm going with this. 4-3, just burst, run down the field, score touchdowns, bring you the juice, bring the energy. Javonte and Miles Sanders aren't doing that right now at their age, with their career they've had. That's Jaydon Blue. Jaydon Blue, the rookie out of Texas. I know I cover Texas. I've watched a lot of Jaydon Blue. The guy's fumbled the football last year. That's why he got benched, why he didn't get, why he didn't completely split carries with Trey Wisner, who was SEC first team all conferences last year, had 1,000 yards. Jaydon Blue's really good if Jaydon Blue's on the football field. The thing we had heard coming into training camp was a report about laziness off the field and focusing on playbook, picking the playbook up, Jaydon Blue showed up to practice at training camp and decided that none of that existed. And he showed burst. He showed explosion. He showed, his hands down the field. I will forever have this take that if Jaydon Blue is on the field, if they can keep him on the field, this is going to sound, I don't know what way, but it's sort of the Antonio Brown, the Odell Beckham, the Randy Moss kind of corollary in like the receiver diva thing. If you can keep them on the field and you can keep them out of trouble, they can be a lot to handle, or as the great Coach JB would say, he's a shitbird. He's a shitbird. That's a great Coach JB would say. He's a shitbird. He's a slapdick, a shitbird, or a fuckstick, and he's a he's a slapdick, and like that's just how you characterize that. And being he's not maybe the teamiest player, but if he's on the field, you got to rock the ball to Antonio Brown. You got to throw some nukes to Randy Moss. You got to get the ball in Jaydon Blue's hand type of situation. I know that is a maniacal even comparison to bring up those names in the same sentence as a rookie. That was a third day draft pick, but that should give you the emphasis of what I'm telling you, right? That should just tell you all you need to know about who Jaydon Blue is. And I do think he's worthy of a 12th round pick in these seasonal drafts right now. I have it baked into our cheat sheet because of just that wild card, joystick entrance from a Jaydon Blue. And then his partner rookie is Phil Maffa, who's had 1,000-yard seasons at Clemson. He's a 230-pound bruiser who also, like, we haven't heard a lot about Phil Maffa, but I have just interesting thoughts to see what the Phil Maffa role is. I can only assume Deuce Vaughn probably doesn't make this roster. The third-year kid out of Kansas State, unfortunately, his pops is in the scouting department there. But as far as what this backfield needs, like, they kind of do need the bruiser. And Phil Maffa's that more so than Javonte. And Jaydon Blue's got the most, burst out of this group, the most juice out of this group. And so I like Maffa and Blue both making the roster. I think they can both push past and push through Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams by the end of the year. And Blue can actually win you a fantasy football league this year.
Jaydon Blue. Okay, this is what I want to say about Blue. This is why I was excited about him going to the Cowboys. Is you got to remember how you scout, and this is something you and I don't forget. This is something you and I talk about off camera a ton. Is remembering our takes from the past so that we don't get delusional in the present. We were clamoring over a rookie to go to the Dallas Cowboys. We were for months. Ashton Ginty, first round. If not, Marion Hampton, first, second round. I mean, we were hoping a rookie went here, and the guy who ran a 4.3 went there. I mean, now we're going to throw it out. We're going to now say that Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams are going to gatekeep this position all year from the kid who ran the 4.3. And you know me, Cody. You know I always bet against the small running backs if the price is high. He fits right into that Devon Achane, Bucky Irving mold, 5'9", 196. Not particularly big. But I have been burnt now 2 years in a row between Devon Achane and Bucky Irving. So am I going to lose out again on a guy that I'm not having to invest in? I think I'm going to have me some shares of Jaydon Blue. So I'm glad you brought him up. So Jaydon Blue, make sure if the value falls, if you see some of those fair value gaps in our drafts and our leagues, bring him aboard, make the trade, make it happen, get him on the team.
One guy I'm confident is not the Bucky Irving is Cam Scatterbo. I'll just say that.
Well, yeah, he's way bigger. He's a workhorse. He's a bell cow back. He's going to be a stud.
Who, Scatterbo?
Big Cam. Scamaboo. You don't believe in Scatterbo?
He's the backup punter in New York right now.
He can do it all. Isn't that one of his green flags? Was that he could do it all?
He's the up man on punt. He's the literal backup punter for the Giants.
That's pretty hilarious.
Everybody said he's the short yardage back. Is that the term you want for a fantasy contributor? Is it short yardage back?
No, you don't.
Man on punt?
No, you don't. You don't. That's why he didn't make your sleeper list, right?
That's why he did not make the sleeper list.
But Cody, that was a blast. Thank you for coming on the FutureCast. Like I said, you took this show to heights that hopefully I can once return it to, and I'm hoping that your name being on the marquee this week helps with that viewership. So, brother, before you go, though, let anyone that may not be familiar with it, which I can't imagine there are any, but if there are any, where are you working? What can they find? What can they expect from Cody Carpentier in the next few weeks?
I appreciate you, dog. You know that. You know I love you. You can find all my stuff over at rosterwatch.com. Training camp tours are going to go in the next 3 weeks as we travel across, pretty much for me, it's the East Coast. I'll go to Minnesota this next week for the Vikings camp and stuff like this, but pretty much all over the East Coast for training camp tour the next 2 weeks. And then go to the draft rankings on YouTube, the draft rankings on YouTube. Matty Kiwum joins me and we talk all things, the first couple minutes of the show this week might be about the Twins and the Red Sox because the Red Sox suck and the Twins don't know how to spend money, but it's the draft rankings and it's about football. It's about the NFL. It's about fantasy. It's about drafting. It's about rookies. So go subscribe there on YouTube. And Matty, I can't thank you enough. FutureCast, baby.
FutureCast all day long. Make sure you are subscribed to the Player Profile YouTube channel. Like that, hit that like button and make sure you leave in the comments who are your favorite rookie sleepers for 2025. And you can find me on X. I'm at Matty Kiwum. See you next time, everybody. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.